Like I mentioned, the business started as a blog back in 2011. So my website has a ton of blog posts going back 15 years. It's like almost 1,000 blog posts. So I get a lot of great SEO. I get a lot of traffic to the website of people coming to read the blog posts because it's educational and informative. But I wasn't doing a good job of letting people who land on my blog know that I also offer services. That was kind of a gap in the types, like kind of a gap in my website before. I've gotten clients organically or through referrals or again going to conferences and events. So I haven't had to do a lot of explicit sales on the website. And now I'm learning like I really should. That's a really, low hanging fruit. That's a missed opportunity that would be easy for me to do. So in this new iteration of the website, I'm integrating more proactive, like banners and things like that onto blog posts, for example. So if there's a blog post about social media, I'll make sure that people know I offer social media services on those blog posts, for example. So I think there's some easy, low hanging fruit, so to speak, in that regard that hopefully that'll help kind of bring in some more business naturally with the content that's already exists.
Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where I go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Debbie Miller, founder and president of Social Hospitality. How are you doing, Debbie?
Well, thanks. How about yourself?
Perfect. No, glad that you can join me. Let's dive straight into question one. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey, what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today at Social Hospitality.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a journey of a lot of happy accidents that happened. I was an English major in college. I've always loved to write, I've loved storytelling, and I happened to sign up for an internship that placed me at a destination marketing organization. And what that is an organization that works with the city to promote the city as a whole so that people come and stay at the hotels and go to the arts venues and shopping and puts money back into the city basically. And I had no idea what that was. And at the time, I had no idea really also what marketing was. It was kind of new to me. Again, I like to write and tell stories, but I didn't know how that would integrate into marketing until I got put into this role, this internship. And I found that I really loved it. It was really creative and different every day. And I got to apply a lot of the skills I was learning in college as an English major, a lot of like the analytical thinking skills and problem solving skills. And all of that kind of applied really nicely to that role I was in. And this was also 20 years ago, kind of right when social media for business was first starting. Facebook had literally come out a few years before for college students and then had just opened up for businesses. Similarly with like X now, or Twitter back then, just starting for businesses. Businesses were kind of all getting in at the ground level, so it was good timing in that regard as well. That I was able to kind of the technology side of all that came really naturally to me because I was young at the time and I understood it, and I was able to network and meet people also in marketing who were also kind of learning this brand new medium of social media. So that's how my career kind of started, and I was working primarily in the hospitality industry at the time, working for the destination marketing organization that I mentioned. And at the time, wasn't a solid resource specifically for the hospitality industry on social media. This is back in like 2008 through 2011 period of time. And in 2011, I started Social Hospitality as a blog. So I was just blogging and writing about working in this industry, the social media trends that were coming up specifically for this industry. And around that same time, the organization I was with went through a restructuring, and we all got laid off. Long story short, and I ended up going to work for a larger marketing company at the time that I had been their client before, so I knew them for a while. So they hired me right when I got laid off. I ended up being there for 6 years, and that was really helpful because I got to learn a lot more about digital marketing than I had at my previous job. I was able to learn more about SEO, for example. I didn't know much about it before I transitioned to that larger agency. And while I was there, I continued working for larger clients and learning a lot while I was also kind of building my blog and little side business. And I built it on the side for about 6 years while I still worked at that last company. And then in 2017, I went out full time with Social Hospitality as my full time gig. I now kind of call it a small boutique marketing agency. We focus primarily on digital marketing on the content side of things, a lot of social media, a lot of blogging, email marketing, writing copy for websites, all that kind of content creation side of things, which kind of ties back to my roots as a writer and lover of storytelling. So definitely all integrates, but also is always changing, as I'm sure you know. This space is changing constantly with AI and everything else going on. So that's kind of the high level overview of how I got to where I am now.
hmm So when you went to the second marketing agency, was they in hospitality as well, or was they sort of
Yeah, they were focused primarily on hospitality. They had some clients outside of the hospitality industry as well, but they primarily worked with hotels. So that was kind of my main focus. And they had like apartment complexes as well, and some other kind of adjacent industries that they worked with. They also had some like healthcare pharmaceutical companies. So it was definitely focused on hospitality, but had some additional industries as well.
It's good, but it's also quite rare, isn't it, that people go for like an internship in one industry and then go right the way throughout your career to now going back to, before you did the internship, you were doing right, you were, majoring in English, and now to be still in that hospitality, but using your degree from before then to actually, run the business and to make money.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I think hospitality is such a great kind of backbone industry to be a part of because it's so customer centric and can be and, oriented on the consumer and providing an experience. And I think that kind of vibe translates to various other industries, and it's a great kind of segue to other industries as well.
So, what has your role sort of looked like when you first started your agency to now?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved a lot. And I think, I mean, I had to learn kind of what I was doing on the side while I was at the last company. I had to learn kind of the intricacies of owning and running a business, which is very different from doing day-to-day marketing stuff for clients. So that meant setting up an LLC, learning how to do taxes and accounting. When I first started going on my own payroll, how to pay myself, what did that look like? I think when I first started the company, I started as a blog first. So was doing a DBA for a while. So it's kind of still under my own name, and then transitioned it to an LLC, and then, had to make sure I had all the paperwork in order for that. And I actually had trademarked social hospitality back in around 2012, I think, as well. And unfortunately, I forgot to renew it when the 10 years were up, and then I'm in the process of trying to renew it now. And it's much harder this time. But so kind of just doing all of that kind of legal, the legal aspects of setting up and running a business and making sure you're doing all your accounting correctly. I use QuickBooks for all my accounting stuff. And then just kind of setting up, getting a business license in the city I live in, and like those kinds of intricacies as well. You kind of have to learn to do all of that, and it's not fun. It's not, it's not the fun creative stuff that I love about marketing, but it's something that has to be done when you're starting a business. And I was able to kind of do that on the side while I was still working my previous job, so that by the time I was ready to go full time with social hospitality as my full time business, I kind of had all of that other stuff already ironed out because I've been kind of working on it for a couple years on the side.
It's one of them things that they don't teach you either, is that you don't really get, there's no way you actually get taught to do that type of life stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So, what does your role actually look like today then in the business? Like day to
yeah.
day, do you have people that work for you or are you on your own?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a few. Everyone's remote, so I have a few freelancers that work for me. I'm still kind of the main like point of contact for all the clients, and I love that. Like, I don't think I want to have a company. I've had people ask me like, "What are your goals? Do you want to just kind of not work ever and hand it off to your team and have your team be fully managing it and you're autonomous and you don't have to do anything?" And I'm like, I don't know if I want that. That's not really my goal. Is not to just manage people and be hands off. I like being hands on with the clients. I like coming up with strategies for their marketing. Like, that makes me excited and happy and create. Again, it's like creativity stuff that I love about it, and the storytelling. So I like being kind of in the trenches as well with the clients, and then handing off tactical stuff to my team members to do, to help create social content and stuff like that. But I like being in the weeds with the clients and having that relationship with them and growing with them and integrating into their marketing teams. And it's really fun to get to do that for a lot of different types of companies. I found that I really do well in that kind of environment because I like having different things to work on. And like I mentioned before, with the hospitality industry being a good backbone example, is that I'll learn stuff from one industry and one client that can apply to other clients as well. So it's kind of fun having all of that overlap and those inadvertent ways that everything connects. No 2 days are really the same. It's a little bit different. It kind of depends on which. A lot of client projects are more monthly, and then some are more urgent and timely. So it just depends on how many meetings. Some weeks I have a lot of meetings, and some weeks I have less meetings. So that varies the schedule, and then what kind of work needs to be done and is quote unquote due soon for the clients. For several clients that we do social media for example, we're consistently creating new social media posts for them. Almost 3 to 5 days per week. They need social content for many clients, so we're always ironing out new content for clients. We're doing the community management side of social media as well, so monitoring and responding to comments. We do a lot of video. One of my girls that works with me is a video editor, so she's able to edit videos for Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff like that. So we have clients we do that for. We have other clients that we do kind of more just high level strategy stuff. So it kind of, there's different scopes of work depending on the client, but it's all, again, it's all very fun and creative, and no 2 days are the same. So I like that. I like having the variety.
Well, you basically just answered my next question, which was, the in delivery, that walk me through how you're currently delivering for clients. But it seems like lots of different scopes of work, some that need more frequent attention, like social media and things like that, but also some that are very high level, sort of like a consulting base. Is that
Yeah.
kind of like where you're at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that moves me on quite nicely to where we've just spoke about sort of day-to-day delivery and it being lots of different scopes of work. Where, if anywhere, are you sort of adding in AI or more specifically automation to, or are you adding any automation to sort of help you manage all of that?
Yeah, not as much on the automation side because we do kind of need to be hands-on on things. So there's not a lot that we can automate per se. We certainly like schedule social content and do that kind of stuff. And but on the AI side of things, I'm actually in the process of redoing my website right now as well. And one area where we're, especially someone that creates content like myself, so a lot of clients we do blog posts for example. Obviously, GEO is huge right now. We need to make sure that if we're doing a blog post, whereas before we would make sure that it's SEO optimized for search engines, we're also now making sure that they're optimized for people searching, especially in hospitality and travel, making travel plans in ChatGPT. We need to make sure that the content that we're producing is going to show up in search results in ChatGPT as well. So that's something that's definitely changing how we do things. And then in terms of my own marketing, like redoing my website right now, I'm going to integrate some new pages on that kind of stuff, on AI copywriting and editing. And because I think some people, and there's also a lot of misconceptions around that. Like a lot of people think like, oh, I can just have ChatGPT write this for me. And first of all, people can tell when something's fully written by ChatGPT. And I'm not copying ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is great for a lot of things. I think it's great for efficiencies. It's great for outlining content. It's great for answering more technical questions and making things more efficient. So there's a lot of great things about ChatGPT, but you also need a human to finesse it and to be able to optimize the content that's coming out of there. And so you can use ChatGPT as a starting point, but then you need to take someone like myself or my team that can finesse the content, that can edit it, both to make it sound human and relatable and conversational, to make it sure that it's optimized for search engines and AI platforms. And there's a lot of, again, strategy that goes into that. And then also the other side of all that strategy stuff is looking at the data of how all of that content is performing, or how those social media posts are performing, and tailoring the strategy and the content moving forward according to what's working well and what's not. So there's a lot of ongoing strategizing and refinement that happens with all of those different avenues.
Definitely. And with you doing like content creation, like for example, blog posts and things like that, another great way I think to use AI is if you've got the data of like past blog posts for all different kinds of clients and that, to be able to actually train that on the past winning sort of variants or winning pages that you've done in the past. And obviously the more data you have like that, the better result that you're going to get it to churn out. You're still going to need to go over it, of course, and just make sure that it sounds very human and things like that. Same with Claude, with projects. But if you can create an actual project and then upload as much data as you can, or past things that have worked really well for that specific client, then you're going to get the output you're going to get from there are going to be much, much more sharper and much more aligned to the brand voice and what has worked in the past. And another thing, you said like not much things are can be automated. Is there anything like, for example, like what it's called now, when when you need to check over like what results, what analytics and things like that has done, and you need to like reporting, monthly reporting and things like that. Is there any parts of the business like that, even though it's not very high level or strategic, but it takes a little bit of time? Some people, it can be like audits and things like that you do. AI can be used good for that because it's not taking away your strategy, because no one's going to be better than us or yourself in your business as the strategy. But doing kind of the work that eats up hours a week is where I think it's like the first layer of where AI can just sort of give you more time for strategy.
Definitely, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we do monthly reports for all the clients, and yeah, they want a good combination of the data and then us translating what the data means.
Yeah.
Depending on the client, like some kind of understand it, some don't understand it at all. So, yeah, I think AI is going to be very helpful for stuff like that, for integrating data, especially when you have data sources that come from different places, having to aggregate it and then make it all make sense. a lot of analyzation.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, then the main thing is actually being able to translate it, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To actually put it into words that they're going to understand and terminology that they're going to understand as well.
Yeah.
Also, like, it also like terms that you having to read data and then, propose, like, we get your head around it and propose what it's going to do. Even that like takes up time, doesn't it? And like having to actually think about. Whereas if you can use AI to actually take that, read the data, and it could be masses amount of data from tables, could be, meta ads, all these different types of thing, and give you like a holistic view of what's actually happening, can give you back so many hours, I think, in strategy time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Debbie, what is working well, and where do you feel slight friction inside the business?
I mean, I feel like things in general work well. I think definitely kind of looking forward. Like I mentioned, I'm redoing my website right now, making sure it's modern, and clean, and integrates those new kind of aspects of AI and different things that we offer, and how AI can help better those services and enhance them. Is one thing that we're kind of moving toward. I think figuring out kind of what you just touched upon, ways to use AI to aggregate data and translate it. I'm talking to one, it's not a client I'm working with yet, but I'm talking to actually one lead right now, and I don't think I can say who they are, but they're an entertainment brand, I'll say, and they have a lot of different marketing initiatives going on for a lot of different campaigns and things that they're doing, and it's interesting because they have an in-person experience, and so it's hard to track, like when people come in person, like did they come from that social media post or that email campaign, or and so we're looking at kind of this exact situation where, okay, if we know people came for this specific event, how can we assign or attribute revenue? Like we know, like we know the event made this much revenue, and how can we see which marketing efforts that we did contributed to that revenue and how much those marketing efforts were worth. But then how do you monetize like an email blast and a social media post? It's hard to assign numbers to that and then correlate the ROI of the event that way with data, all these different data sources, both online and in person. And like that's something I'm trying to kind of figure out right now. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a way to do that with AI, like taking, the revenue data from a specific event and looking at the different marketing campaigns that they did to promote that event, and then figuring out kind of what the average value is of those efforts and each person that came in, for example, and what are those KPIs, and so I'm trying to figure out how to kind of how to figure all that out and assign value to it, and I think AI is going to be really helpful with that. So kind of, yeah, this next frontier, kind of before it was a lot of social media algorithm changes and much smaller scale stuff that was affecting the industry, and now, yeah, AI is kind of just changing everything, and again, in some ways making things more efficient and better, and then in other ways making it harder. But yeah, it's really interesting.
I think attributing where revenue has come from is it can be tricky, can't it? Do you know what I mean? Especially from like you said, then social media posts, content that you're putting up, email blasts, and all these different types of things. You can even have, click here to go to the page to buy it, but some people might just see it, and then go another avenue to go and do it. So I feel like, especially for social media marketing and marketing in general, do you mean being able to attribute that is key, isn't it, to showing your value to clients? And yeah, AI is can be used with the right, automations and the right things put together to be able to actually read the whole thing and tell you, yeah, this is why it's working, or this is where most of the revenue is coming from, or as a whole thing, as you said then, if you've got email, you've got in person, you've got this, and being able to show you like where more than likely that's where it's actually coming from, and things like that, and looking at the data as a whole, which would be tricky for us humans because our brains are not machines. We're more adapt to like creative thinking and strategy and that type of thing. So yeah, no, definitely it's exciting, like you say, more can be done, but it's also, I think nearly everybody in the world's kind of getting a little bit of FOMO as well. Do you know what I mean? Being like, I hope that I'm staying up to date and not going to miss out on, the next sort of thing that's coming out. So I feel like, everybody's looking forward to it, but also there's a little bit of anxiety with it as well. And I think that's just totally normal. So, Debbie, where do you want to be in terms of business in the next 12 to 18 months?
Oh, again, like working on my new website. So I want the new website to be launched. Yeah, kind of figuring out what the next stage of growth looks like. With again, with these AI integrations and the opportunities that arise. I think figuring out how to create and craft new packages and new offerings around the new technology that's out there. Kind of already doing that in conjunction with the new website as well, but seeing how that all rolls out as the website rolls out, and then continuing to network. I try to go to a lot of like networking events and conferences and stuff like that to meet people and establish relationships. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. I think that's I don't remember if you found me on LinkedIn, or I think probably
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
colleague. Um, uh, so yeah, figuring out the best ways to kind of reach a target audience and target clients, and continue growing the business and kind of seeing how things evolve. Um, yeah.
Anything that sort of you think that needs to change, like in your business, to be able to reach sort of the next level that you're trying to get to?
One thing that has come up that I'm working on again with this new website is making sure that I'm doing a better job of selling myself, selling the company, selling the services. Like I mentioned, the business started as a blog back in 2011, so my website has a ton of blog posts going back 15 years. It's like almost 1,000 blog posts. So I get a lot of great SEO. I get a lot of traffic to the website of people coming to read the blog posts because it's educational and informative. But I wasn't doing a good job of letting people who land on my blog know that I also offer services. That was kind of a gap in the types, like the kind of a gap in my website before. And like the good and bad news is I've never had to be explicitly salesy. Like I've always gotten or kind of I've gotten clients organically or through referrals or again going to conferences and events. So I haven't had to do a lot of explicit sales on the website. And now I'm learning like, oh, I really should. That's a really, low hanging fruit. That's a missed opportunity that would be easy for me to do. So in this new iteration of the website, I'm integrating more proactive, like banners and things like that onto blog posts, for example. So if there's a blog post about social media, I'll make sure that people know I offer social media services on those blog posts, for example. So I think there's some easy, low hanging fruit, so to speak, in that regard that hopefully that'll help kind of bring in some more business naturally with the content that's already exists. Um, yeah, so it's kind of the first thing that came to mind is kind of taking the stuff I already have and repackaging it and repurposing it and making sure that the message is clear of what we do and what we offer.
And like you said, then there's low hanging fruit is people that are already looking at your page for, for something to be able to, whether it's educational or whether that's, looking maybe thinking, I hope something on here is going to help me get out of the mess that I'm in with my social media or with my whatever. So it's definitely like, shoring up that inbound funnel. I think, is definitely the way to go because, like you say, you're getting a lot of traffic, especially when I think you said 1,000 blog posts. So your SEO must be really, really good for people, searching for this type of stuff. So yeah, no, definitely. I feel like that's definitely the first thing. That's the first thing you should do because you've got such a good sort of bank of date gold basically there for people coming to it. Just being able to then sort of capture them and show yourself off without having to actually really have to, speak to them. It's not like outreach where you're outreach speaking to them, having to like be really salesy. It's kind of just helping them in a way. So Debbie, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I mean, I think kind of elaborating on what I was just kind of saying, like turning my work into more clearly defined offerings and making sure that people are aware of what we offer and what we do and keep the benefits of keeping up on trends and things that are happening in the industry and having a partner like myself that is tapped into that fully all the time, that knows the industry, that knows this world really well, that's able to create strategies that apply to each business and offer value, kind of solve a problem that they have, and figuring out, I think, stronger ongoing frameworks to make all of that more efficient as well, with AI, as mentioned. Um, and then, yeah, I think just kind of figuring out the best ways to take take the business to the next level with kind of integrating some more sales techniques and opportunities that I haven't really leveraged yet. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Definitely, as you said then, you've really, never had to actually be too salesy to get you to where you are now, which is what is it, 9 years? 9 years now, nearly that you've been in business. So, that's definitely says something. Do you know what I mean? To not have to be too salesy for 9 years in a business, But yeah, actually now realizing after 9 years, it's doing really well. But actually, to get to that next level, I might need to put in some different sales techniques, but it's well done you. Do you know what I mean? For 9 years to not having to actually, do much of, sort of like outbound and all this type of thing to actually grow a business organically like that is definitely something that you should be proud of.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah.
So, Debbie, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Where can my viewers and listeners reach out to you or, to your website where they could potentially want to collaborate and work with you?
Yeah. The website is socialhospitality.com, and then on most of the social networks as well. My email address is debbie@socialhospitality.com. And again, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you just Google Debbie Miller Social Hospitality, I've learned there's a lot of Debbie Millers in the world. So but if you
Yeah.
Google Debbie Miller Social Hospitality, all of my LinkedIn and all of my stuff should come up. So feel free to email me or reach out through the website.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, everybody. If you want to collaborate, if you're in the hospitality industry and you're looking for social media or any of the other services Debbie offers, please reach out to her on LinkedIn or the website. Yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.